Okay, so here's my final ammo comparison review. From now on, the only reviews that I'll be doing is of the Aguila brand, and how it holds up and how it performs um, beyond 175 yards, because that's where I've gone to so far in this quest since I've picked up this CZ 455 Precision Camo Trainer, which I have to say is an incredible rifle, and we're going to go from there. And if you've seen some of my prior videos, I've compared a lot of different brands. To wrap it up, you make it fast. Federal, the Federal Bulk, Remington Golden Bullet, CCI, Winchester Super X, CCI Stinger, and the Federal Target Grade Performance Auto Match, which I found to be the most accurate, the most reliable, the best ammo for this rifle. But we had a situation where I bought one box, like this is bulk boxes, 325 rounds, and every round in that box was awesome. It was all consistent, extremely tight groups, very, very excellent groups. You probably, if you've seen the videos, if you haven't seen the videos, go back and look at them. But therein lies the problem. So, in my comparison, and the Federal hollow point was, not so bad, especially up to 125, and anything 125 and less, they all did very well with. I'll say that. Anything less than 100, they were all extremely accurate. But this Federal Auto Match, so I liked it so much, so I buy 5 boxes of it. Well, the first box that I shoot out of that new batch is absolutely horrendous. Some are high power, some almost sound like it's a primer only. The groups are all over the place. When you had good, consistent ammo in the box, the grouping was ideal, just like it had been prior. But just as many were too hot and just as many were duds, essentially. So, I cannot recommend the Federal Auto Match. And I'm not stuck with it because the handgun here fires anything. It'll eat anything, which that's another video too. I'll get to that at the end because I have a couple of videos on that Smith & Wesson Victory 22, which I had issues with. They're all now been remedied, and I guess I can recommend it. It's a pretty awesome gun, extremely accurate as well. But anyway, at this point now, I'd seen a review on Aguila that wasn't a commercial review. It was just an individual that made it, and they spoke about the high quality of Aguila. And so I was looking for the red box, the 40 grain high velocity. I had some blue box, which is subsonic, and I have no interest in subsonic. So that's that. And then a good friend of mine gave me some of this BBM. Now this is a product it's made in Germany, and it's pretty spendy. It's $8 a box for 50 versus $3 a box for the Aguila. And the Federal Bulk is, what, $25 for 525 rounds. It's, like the same as the Aguila as far as price goes. The Federal is a hollow point, 36 grain hollow point. This here, the BBM, is a 40 grain lead round nose. And the Aguila is a 40 grain copper jacketed round nose as well. So let's get right to the nitty gritty. Here's the results today at 175 yards. The first shots I took were with the BBM, and that's right here. Now the 0 is at 175 for Aguila, which I shot the other day. So, the comparison. Don't necessarily look at the missing the target, but look at the group, and the group is pretty nice. At 175, and there's a little bit of wind involved today, not too much. It's right to left. It's out of the east, and it's fairly cold as well too. We'll say it's 40 degrees, and this is here in South Dakota. So I wasn't all that disappointed with the grouping, but it's a little underpowered. I'd say it's definitely the least powered of all of them, and the Federal is 1280. The Aguila claims to be, I think, 1260. I think it might be a little bit less than that. Either that or the Federal's a little bit hot. But anyway, that was my first group, was with the BBM. Then I shot some Aguila. And that's what we have right there. It's a 5-shot group at 175, again, remember. And then came down and shot BBM one more time, which, you know, at 175, one would say that's not too bad, but this is what we're looking for, you know, in that. But anyway, so then I shot some Federal, and the Federal has been consistent. That's consistent for the Federal at that range. At 100, they'd all be in the bull. Out there, 175, this has been typical. At least you can say about the Federal bulk is that they are consistent. They may not be what you're looking for in a long range 22, but once again, less than 100 yards or even 125, they're really, really tight. And, you know, it's a great, I can't complain about it. But this stuff here at $8 a box for 50, well, it should be better than that, I suppose. So then I finished out the targets with the Aguila, and that's my second grouping out of the Aguila, and that's my third grouping out of the Aguila. And at this point, the wind had picked up a little bit, and therefore, you know, those are to the left, which I didn't bother making any windage adjustments. I was just looking for grouping at this point. So what I'm gonna have to say is, and at the same time too today now, I did a lot of shooting at some steel targets. I have a 3-inch, a 2-inch, a 1-inch round, and like a 3/4 inch square piece of steel. And I hit the 3/4 inch numerous times. I hit all the other ones at will. I have a silhouette target with vitals cut out and with a head, you know, sweep that could be like the hostage taker. But that's a big target. Like, you know, the vitals is a 6-inch target. The head is a 4-inch target. So needless to say, I was all over it with the Aguila every time. So in retrospect, to sum it all up now, I highly recommend the Aguila. And I knew this. I've been looking for it because I could tell that the review that I saw was totally legit. And like this guy, you know, was talking about serious deals. Like, you know, this is a good product. It always has been. It's just not well known. But and you can tell too, something about it that's unique is the powder has a really, really sweet smell. And I suppose that from what I've read about Aguila is that they take a lot of pride in both their powder and their shot as far as consistency. And they have center fire rounds and shotgun rounds also. And I believe they're the first ones to have made the mini shells. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. That they were the first ones to come out with the 12 gauge mini shells. And right now I also have a 6.5 Creedmoor that, you know, I'm very pleased with the Hornady. What is it? Hornady. I forget what it is. It's a match bullet that they're making. I forget which one it is, but it's going to be difficult for me to switch over from that unless the price is right. If the price is right, I'm getting 50 rounds for $60 of the Hornady. If there's a price, you know, differential that's worth it, I'll try it. If not, you know, why screw with a good thing? I'm shooting half MOA groups at 700 yards. I'm hitting a 4-inch round every time at 700 yards with the 6.5 with the Hornady. So, you know, why would you change over? But so I probably won't. But anyway, we'll look for some more videos on that coming up because I just picked up a new scope because I took this scope off the 6.5, put it on the CC here, and I upgraded my scope just this week for the 6.5. So I'll be mounting that soon. I have a rail ordered, and well, speaking of rails, this is the Area 419 30 MOA rail, and you know what? It's top notch. It's $100. It's a little spendy, but in my opinion, it's the foundation for this rifle right here. But anyway, the CZ 455 Precision Camo Trainer. I highly recommend it. That's a Vortex Viper 4x16 scope. And the Aguila Super Extra copper plated 40 grain high velocity 22 long rifle I found to be the premier 22 caliber round. And I've done extensive testing, and I had a lot of paper plates with targets on them of all these other rounds that I shot, which I tossed just because I had so many stacked up. But a lot of them were, I had a lot of good targets, of course, especially at shorter distances, and everything's been consistent as far as opening up. Once you get out beyond 150, after 125, it's a whole different story with the 22. 175 is a long way. 200 is a big jump too now. That'll be the next step. I've been there before, and, I've shot really good groups of 200 with this stuff when I had consistent ammo coming out of the box. So I'm excited to see what the Aguila does at 200 and beyond. So those will be my next videos. The Aguila beyond 175. And once again, here's the Smith & Wesson 22 Victory, which had a lot of problems with it not wanting to feed. It wasn't stovepiping or jamming. It was just failing to extract, and then, it wouldn't load the next round properly because the old one, the spent casing, was stuck in action. And it turned out that what I thought was in a, what did I think it was? I thought it was the extractor. Well, it ended up being the little piece of metal, which I believe it's the ejector. I could be wrong. I think that's what the guy called it. He has a YouTube tutorial. The little piece of metal that's on the frame that operates the extractor just needed to be bent towards the center of the bore, like just a micro movement. Hard, nothing even noticeable. I moved it with I took a toothbrush and got it in there and, used it as the back of the toothbrush, the plastic. I used it as a lever, a fulcrum, and just barely moved the whole thing. It's about it's about a half-inch piece, so you have to move the whole thing uniformly. And I just barely moved it, and lo and behold, the thing works perfect. So I had another problem here. The screw broke off of the grip. I was not happy about that at all. I haven't contacted Smith yet to get new screws. And they're like a custom thread. You can't find them I went to a fastener place that has absolutely every type of standard, fractional and metric screw and thread and machines, whatever you need. They could not match it. So I just found a little nylon screw at the hardware store that, was really, really close, but it was a coarse thread. Or it was a fine thread, but it wasn't. This is like an extra fine that was in it initially. So I just cross-threaded it in there. It cut its own thread because it's nylon. Didn't damage the female side of the receiver in the grip. And once I get the new screws from Smith, I'll put that in there too. But so be that as it may, I was not happy with this pistol at first, but I was always happy with its accuracy when it fired properly. And now that it fires properly, it's awesome. I dumped like 10 rounds after this Feral Cat the other day in, like 2 seconds or less. It's just awesome. It's got a great trigger, super accurate. And then one more thing too about the CZ455, there's, you can do some trigger upgrades. Well, and some are cost spendy, whatever, some aren't. What I did was just, I pulled the spring out of it and replaced it with the spring out of a ballpoint pen. And my trigger is probably about a pound, a little over a pound. It's got a little bit it's almost like a 2-stage trigger. It's great. It's got this little bit of travel, just the tiniest bit of travel. And then right after that, it's on. So like, the trigger on this is amazing, which it's getting me spoiled though with the Glock trigger now and like my AR trigger, because it's like it's almost feel like you're going to break it trying to pull those triggers after this trigger here being so light. Like, let's see. Which, I don't know, there's just a fingertip there, and you can see the creep. You see it travel. Didn't that time. It doesn't actually every time. But that trigger, there it goes. Break. So anyway, I'd have to have a pretty precision scale to measure. But anyway, that's it for today. South Dakota, winter's coming. We've got some miserable weather. Well, not too miserable. It's actually beautiful, but it's getting cold. It's been cold already. We got snow coming. We got rain coming for the next couple days, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some snow or some sleet involved. But anyway, that's it. I'm gone.